Hi everyone. I think it's time we talked a little bit about cults. And what better opportunity to talk about cults than me just being at the DA's office testifying against the cult leader that I was acquainted with many years ago. But it appears that his activities have not stopped since. What is a cult? The definition should be right about here at this point, but my experience with a cult and how it drags you in a way that is much more despicable than you would think. Because when you look from the outside at cults, any cult, you see a group of people that are completely dedicated and brainwashed by their leader and by other very strongly and firmly believing members. It's not that straightforward when you start, because at the very beginning, when I joined the group, it was a part of the Catholic Church. My upbringing isn't Catholic. My parents have never gone to church. They are non-believers. Sorry, there's a very cute cat over there. As I was saying, when you look at it from the outside, it's not like, and you see completely brainwashed people, but it's not like they know they're brainwashed or that it's completely their own decision. Because you may think that, okay, people who are adults, even young adults, you would think that because they have IDs and they are able to take legal actions of different sorts, like, I don't know, voting, for example, or buying booze, that they would, it's not like I stand in their defense, because I'm not, but it's just to explain how the mechanisms work. You're completely brainwashed. You can't tell right from wrong, because there is only one right side, and that's the side that you are being presented by the cult and its leader and the most pious followers. So once we've cleared that, my experience with a cult, how it all began and how I got dragged in and how it works, you get sucked in like and you don't even know. There's no way of you to know that you are being manipulated. Because at first it's like you find this place, especially people who are young people, who are vulnerable, who have never felt safe, who have never felt accepted or complete, or have many problems with themselves. They find a place where everyone is like, oh, hi, welcome, nice of you to be here, we are happy that you're here. So you get this initial acceptance, and this is the first dose of the drug, because it works more or less the same as drugs. You get the first dose, you find it very tempting to reach out for another dose because it gives you happiness. I'm not going to go into the neurological side of things, the scientific side of chemicals being involved in this process, but what I can say is that you are given this place where you are safe, where you are happy, where you are accepted, mainly accepted, and you start going there. And that's when it starts, because it gets you more and more. You get more and more feedback that you're welcome. So you are exposed to the ideology of the cult. And the more you are exposed to the ideology, the more you start to believe in it, because it's the only thing that you are hearing. And one of the most dangerous mechanisms is that they want to isolate you from your family, from your peers, from the world that surrounds you. And once you are isolated, the brainwashing truly begins, because you have no way of finding out whether this is real, valuable, or if it's working for you, because you have only one perspective. You can't look at it you can't see the broader picture, you can't see from the outside, because there is no outside spectator. I mean, you have no contact with an outside spectator that would actually tell you, hey, this is fishy, I don't think you should be there anymore, or you're behaving really strange, I don't think it's working for you. There is no contact with outside spectators, there is no contact with the outside world, and you are only being exposed to the things that they tell you. And you are being manipulated into thinking that you are special, okay, maybe that you are so special that, I mean, they would not exist without you. You are being manipulated into thinking that everybody is wrong. There is no right side, except for their side. You are being provided with manipulated evidence that what you are doing is the right way to go, that if anyone tells you otherwise, that they are wrong, and that's the sign that you're doing right, because your faith and your beliefs are somehow not welcome and on the outside. So yeah, because you are met with the resistance of the outside world, which you don't have immediate contact with. It's the contact with the outside world, but through a proxy of the people who are delegated to contact the outside world, manipulate information, manipulate evidence to show you that what you are doing is right and what they are saying is wrong. That happened to me, right? Because when I first joined, there was this fresh new priest. He went to his first parish and he wanted to build a community there. So he asked his the closest people that he had, because this was a countrywide organization. Okay guys, instead of making you listen to the whole history of how it all began, I'm gonna make this short. The priest said yes, the authorities said no, the bishop said you're banned, so we did the only logical and responsible thing that anyone would do, meaning we started a meeting in secret, and yeah, that's how it continued, and that's the point, the cutoff point when it became a sect. Moving on. On the one hand, you had people who were detached from their, let's say, friends, families. No one listened to their families, their parents, because there were a lot of minors there, myself included. No one listened to their parents. The only important thing was to be where their sky was and to meet there, right? So this thing continued, and that's when it became a cult, because you had people who were detached from their environments, and now you had the priest who was detached from his superiors. And this seclusion and this thing was the only thing that was left. So, without anyone's supervision, this thing continued. And all the manipulation kicked into hyperdrive. Because again and again we were told that we are doing God's work, that we are doing something good by being like this, by not complying with what the bishops have told us to do, by being disobedient, because this is God's will and this is superior to anything that anyone can say. The meetings continued, completely cut off from our environments, completely disobedient towards parents, peers, anyone who would say that this is not right, because no one actually knew that we were continuing. Well, officially no one knew. Unofficially everyone knew, but when you're in a place like this, you think that you have access to some higher power, to some higher mystery, to something huge, something mysterious, and this atmosphere of mysteriousness further, it's just cementing your point of view that you are right and the entire world around you is wrong, and you are doing God's will, and they don't listen to God. Only you are listening to God, and you know what is best for you because you know what God wants from you. I fell out of grace. I fell out of that guy's grace, and that was the biggest punishment that you could ever experience. Bigger even than being just entirely banished from the community. Why? Because you are still there, and you can see that everyone around you is looking at you like you're a leper. Everyone is looking at you and judging you that you're not a good person, because why else would you fall out of this person's grace? And there was very limited chances of going back. There were very limited chances of going back. So that's what happened. I fell out of grace. And it's just, and you're there and you're watching these people and you don't know what they want from you, because you're already somewhere on the outside, and you don't know. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea, and no one wanted to reach out to me, truly reach out and kind of help me. They were like, well, you have to figure things out on your own. But how the fuck am I supposed to do that? At some point I had no idea what everyone around me was talking about. It's like everyone started speaking a different language. I remember this kind of, and that guy, that guru, called leader, said at some point that I'm not fit to go to seminary school, and I have already prepared everything to go to seminary school. How? By giving the least amount of effort before going to college. I didn't even apply to college. Like a last resort, I applied to some university, spent a year there, but by that time I was already out. But I wanted to underline one more time and tell you one more time. The mechanism is slow and it sucks you in, and you're not even aware of it. Gradually, you get disconnected from family, you get disconnected from peers, you get disconnected from the world around you, and you are gradually more intertwined with the cult. You are more and more a believer in the cult than the religion. You are more and more a believer in the leader than God. which no one wants to admit. But that's how everyone behaved. Like he was some kind of fucking oracle or the Pope. And this went on for years. And he continued to get new followers and new followers. The people came and went, but the cult mechanisms were only growing stronger and stronger. Right now, that guy is a manipulative son of a bitch that is absolutely convinced to his core, and every cell in his body thinks that he is right and everyone else is wrong. He will not even slightly consider that he might be wrong. Even when he apologized, he did it in a way that he afterwards was even more holy than before. Because he would say things like, I know I did wrong, but I'm only human and I'm doing God's will. So you get the gist. And everyone was like, oh yeah, he's only human, but he's so holy because he's doing God's work. Was he though? A manipulative, highly charismatic person displaying narcissistic traits, narrating everything only through his own perspective, only through what he thinks is right and correct, gaslighting everyone around him, manipulating. I mean, it may not even be that malicious of him. Maybe he just doesn't know that he's doing this, but he's so far gone in his delusions that I don't know what would have to happen for him to actually start to recognize that he was wrong and that he hurt people and that he's still hurting people today. Wanna know what connects asbestos and religion? That guy who tells miners to move around asbestos, a substance that inhaled goes into the lungs and stays there and can cause severe breathing problems and cancer, and no one should touch it without proper tools and proper safety precautions. And he told miners to move around asbestos on his property, because yeah, he bought property, he bought land, and they're all living in one commune. And that wouldn't even be bad, but they, within that community, they started to marry each other. And they started to have kids. To a point that a girl who shouldn't be pregnant in the first place has 5 children. And each time she got pregnant could result in her dying. And that's my personal beef with this belief system, this vision of God, that you can be a good person, but if you die, you die. I mean, it does happen, of course. It shouldn't. It's not fair that God created a world. Children get killed, and people are like, well, if that was God's will, hey, who am I to judge? Yeah. So the girl that should not have been pregnant in the first place has 5 children, and each time she got pregnant, at any time, could result in her dying. Simple as that. And they were like, okay, fuck it, let's do it, let's have another kid. If you die, you die. I mean, yeah, maybe that was God's will. Maybe that was God's plan all along. People who say that support life and they're pro-life completely disregard and see no value in existing human life. Because if you treat yourself like you're disposable, who taught you that? Who told you that you're disposable? Maybe I'm just rambling because I still have a lot of healing to do from what happened. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, that's it. Thank you for staying. It's really difficult for me to talk about it, although it may not seem like it, but that's because I'm dissociating from everything that I've talked about right now. I haven't even started to touch upon that time during therapy, and I'm kind of afraid what I might dig up. But I know I want to know everything about myself and about my life. That's it for now. Cheers.